could fix things. You could also destroy everything.
This can't be happening.
It looks like DC might just have another opportunity to bring the Flash back, and this time, there's growing hope that Grant Gustin could be the one wearing the red suit again. Even though nothing's officially locked in yet, Gustin's recent comments have definitely stirred up the excitement among fans. And honestly, if there's a way for James Gunn's DCU to reintroduce the Flash through Elseworlds or even a small crossover, then this could be the perfect moment, especially because Grant Gustin didn't just play Barry Allen, he was Barry Allen for nearly a decade. When the Flash series launched back in 2014 as part of the Arrowverse, it quickly became a fan-favorite show. A big reason for that was Gustin himself. His version of Barry was full of heart, optimism, and depth, and that made his take on the character feel instantly likable and heroic. It wasn't just about the lightning or time travel, it was the humanity he brought to the character, the kind of balance that few superhero portrayals manage to strike well. Gustin's Flash had the same kind of presence that Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man had in the MCU. He carried the franchise on his back for years. So when the Arrowverse finally wrapped and the DCU began reshaping everything from the ground up, it was a bittersweet goodbye. Fans had hoped there would be some bridge between the two, but it seemed like that door had closed. That's why Gustin's recent appearance on Michael Rosenbaum's podcast was such a big deal. Rosenbaum, who played Lex Luthor in Smallville, is also close to James Gunn and has expressed interest in returning to the DC Universe himself. During their conversation, Rosenbaum asked Gustin if he'd be open to reprising his role as the Flash in the future, and Gustin's answer was hopeful. He said, "Yeah, of course," while adding that he'd be more interested in having some say on the creative direction rather than just putting the suit back on. That part matters. It shows he's not just interested in revisiting the role for nostalgia's sake, but that he actually wants to help shape the story. That level of involvement could lead to something more meaningful, especially in a new DCU that's still finding its footing. Even though Gustin's comments don't confirm anything, they open up a bunch of possibilities. The DCU is still in its early stages, laying the groundwork with new actors and new stories. Right now, the focus is clearly on establishing a new canon that's separate from the DCEU and Arrowverse. But that doesn't mean there won't be room later for side projects or parallel universes, especially through Elseworlds. Elseworlds is basically DC's creative safety net. It's what allows movies like The Batman or Joker to exist alongside a larger shared universe without disrupting anything. That structure could be a perfect home for a new Flash series or movie featuring Grant Gustin. It wouldn't interfere with the mainline Flash, whoever that ends up being. It would just be another story from another world. And considering how DC has fully embraced the multiverse concept lately, it's not far-fetched at all. Actually, we already saw hints of that multiverse crack in David Corenswit's Superman movie. In the post-credit scene, there's a moment that really caught people's attention. Mr. Terrific, a character known for his intellect and multiverse tech, is seen fixing a rift in space. This rift was caused by none other than Lex Luthor, setting up the possibility that characters from other dimensions or other DC storylines might start slipping through. That's a huge tease, because it doesn't just imply a bigger universe, it suggests that Elseworlds characters like Grant Gustin's Flash could be drawn into the main storyline if the writers want them to be. Even if that's not the direction they take, Gustin's desire to come back in a creative capacity could still lead to something fresh. During the same podcast, Rosenbaum asked whether he'd be interested in producing or being creatively involved in a new Flash project. Gustin seemed genuinely enthusiastic about the idea. While he's never produced anything on that scale before, he knows the character better than almost anyone, and that kind of experience could be a big asset. He's lived through every version of Barry Allen's highs and lows, and that gives him the kind of insight you can't just write into a script. It would be even more exciting if he not only worked behind the scenes, but also stepped back into the suit. Maybe not in the main DCU timeline, but through an Elseworlds miniseries or crossover. Something like that could satisfy longtime fans who followed the Arrowverse from the beginning, while also letting the new DCU evolve on its own. There's room for both. Of course, The decision to go with Ezra Miller as the big screen Flash in the past didn't pan out the way DC hoped. Miller's The Flash had its moments, but the movie stumbled hard with critics and at the box office, and the off-screen controversies didn't help. So with the DCU now under new leadership and fresh direction, the studio has a rare opportunity to rethink what The Flash should look like going forward. And honestly, there's a strong case to be made for giving Grant Gustin another chance, whether it's in a multiverse cameo, a standalone Elseworlds arc, or something entirely new. It's worth remembering that Gustin already made a surprise cameo in the Flash movie during that multiverse montage. For a few seconds, we saw his Barry Allen connect with Ezra's version of the character, creating a memorable moment for fans who had wanted that crossover for years. That little scene not only confirmed that both versions exist in the same wider multiverse, it also showed there's still a place for Gustin's Flash, if the DCU wants to go there. And with James Gunn now steering the ship, there's more creative flexibility than ever. Gunn has made it clear that while the new DCU will have a central storyline, Elseworlds is still part of the plan. So as long as there's a good story and a unique take, there's no reason they couldn't bring back older fan-favorite characters, even just for limited series or special appearances. Imagine a limited-run Flash series with Grant Gustin, exploring what happens to his Barry Allen after the Arrowverse finale. Maybe he discovers a new kind of Speed Force anomaly, or maybe he ends up traveling through dimensions and crossing paths with newer heroes from the DCU. With someone like Gustin involved creatively, the storytelling would likely feel true to the character's legacy, but also fresh enough to fit within the new world James Gunn is building. And if Mr. Terrific is already dealing with multiverse rifts, then the setup is basically already there. A breach opens, characters from alternate worlds fall through, and suddenly Barry Allen from another Earth finds himself standing in front of a new Superman. It would be the kind of crossover that doesn't just rely on nostalgia, but actually expands the possibilities of where DC's stories can go. It also keeps the Elseworlds branding strong, making sure there's always room to explore more corners of the universe, no matter how different they may be. So even though nothing is confirmed just yet, the conversation around Grant Gustin returning as the Flash is gaining momentum. And it's not just because fans miss him, it's because he genuinely brought something special to the role. He gave the character warmth, humor, and complexity. He made Barry Allen feel like a real person, someone you could root for in every episode. And now that DC has opened the door to Elseworlds, it's time they consider walking back through it with the actor who helped define The Flash for an entire generation. Whether it's a cameo, a miniseries, or something even bigger, Grant Gustin deserves another run. And based on all the pieces already in motion, from Mr. Terrific patching up multiverse rifts to Gustin's own willingness to return, it feels like the stars might just be aligning. All DC has to do now is make it official. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.